Do you all have this book yet? How Heaven Invades Your Finances.
Mm-mm.
If you don't, go order it. Jessica is doing that book study in April. It's good. Justin actually has been in his finance course for a couple of months, I think, so far. And we were like super excited when Jessica said she was going to do a book study on this. So Justin
Oh,
and
so you guys were already doing it?
yeah,
Oh,
well, he Justin has been in his finance course, and then somehow we made the connection that Jessica was reading his stuff and Justin was already in his finance course. And we're like, oh my word, it's such good stuff. And then Justin and the boys actually went out to his church in Columbus, Ohio, last weekend. So that was cool.
oh, awesome.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm excited for everybody that's plugging into it. So also encourage your teams to be on it as well. I think I noticed that when Jessica leads stuff, people like really perk up their ears, like, oh, I want to be in that. So excited about that. Okay, curious who did their ideal week last week and then followed themselves around.
Oh my word,
my
me.
ideal my ideal week was way more pretty than reality. I was curious. Angie did tell me her epiphanies from that. Curious what y'all learned from it. Or if anyone wants to chime in what they learned.
Well, I'll full disclosure, I printed it off and I plan to do that this week. I'm a little
Okay.
nervous to do it because yeah, I don't love I like schedules, but routines, but I don't like schedules because the
Mm-hmm.
schedule makes me do it at a certain time, which I don't like. But
Mm-hmm.
so anyways, I am going to do it this week. It's printed off.
Melody said the same. Um, Angie, do you want to say anything about it? What you learned?
Yeah,
You
I
know, I mean, I think it's one of those things where we don't have to feel like pressure to all of a sudden change anything necessarily, or that we have to like time block or time block differently. I think it's just good awareness, and I'm encouraging people from the team to do it also.
So first of all, full disclosure is that I was so glad it ended yesterday for me because this morning I woke up at like 4:45 and David's gone. So I just was like, I'm not getting up yet, but I couldn't go back to sleep. So I laid in my bed and scrolled on my phone for over an hour. And I was like, thank goodness I don't have to put that on the list this morning. But and I did get some good inspiration. I did screenshot some stuff and I posted a couple reels that I had been saving. So like there was that. But
Mm-hmm.
um, so I had shared with Megan that I've been talking with my life coach about it. And I've determined one of the reasons that I don't like scheduling things out like this so much is because I work from such an eclectic mindset and it's like it works for me. I did like when I scheduled my ideal week out, I put everything exactly, but like reality of life is that doesn't work for me. And things change so much, whether we're home, going to the office, and we have a long journey in between driving and stuff. And so when I was talking to my coach, she said, well, it's okay to write those things out, but if it's working, if what you're doing is working for you in this season, don't feel like you have to change it for yourself or for anyone else. So I did follow myself around. I did write out all the little things. I had to write small because goodness gracious, there was a lot of things happening. But it was good. It was a good realization. And I feel like I hadn't been sharing it with my team. And so Megan suggested that. And so there's a few people I do want to share it with because I I hear people say all the time, well, I'm doing the things, I'm reaching out all day long. And so even for me, it was like, wow, like what kind of time am I really spending?
Mm-hmm.
And it makes me wonder if I am as driven as I am and I lack some time that I should be doing more. I'm like, I wonder what they're really doing, So I am going to share that with a few people on my team to see how they if they're willing to do it as well.
Yeah, and that's a reminder to me, also to just put a plug for anything that we're doing on our coachings or something that you're doing with a personal coach, or things that Jessica gives us to do. I feel like our job is to like duplicate that down to our leaders, because this is like holding the mirror. And for us, you know, we're producing, like we're getting stuff done, even if it's, I mean, this is the entrepreneurial life, so it doesn't have to look like 9 to 5 job. Like it really shouldn't.
Yeah.
But the hours or the time should be there somewhere. And I think for most people, when they do this, they'll realize how little they're actually doing. Maybe they're
Right.
thinking about stuff, and so their brain feels like they're doing, but they're actually not. They're consuming, they're scrolling, and they're not. I mean, it's why they're not seeing results, you know. So I think definitely I'm repeating. I was actually kind of surprised with some of the people that I'm coaching that were on Jessica's call that hadn't even printed it off yet. I'm like, there's $100 and a massage on the line. I would be doing it.
Yeah.
The other thing I think is good is to find out, how much do you make per hour? How much do you make per post that you make? I figured that up last night, because it made me evaluate. It's making me evaluate like where my time goes. And I'm actually like, I love my life, but just remembering like we get to create our life, like design where our time goes. And so this whole idea of like, I don't have time. A couple things for me was, I want to be in bed earlier and I want to read. Like I just finished this book by Henry Cloud, Changes That Heal. So good. And then I'm starting this one by him, Boundaries for Leaders. And so I'm just like, I need to have some zone free time, just like shut it down. And that's, I think, what I realized about doing mine is like, I do so much like in the snippets of my day. And I think that's sometimes why I feel a little bit like ping ponging, which I have just told myself, like, that's the best thing of, you know, what I do is like, I can be home with my kids and, you know, make such an amazing income. And, you know, it's the day is flowing, like it's going from one thing to the next, and it's fine, it's great. But I'm like, maybe I need to be just a little bit more focused on not just being more intentional about when I pick up my phone, because it's easy for me to pick up my phone 100 times before lunch and like reply. And then my brain is like very much in a bunch of different places. And then I'm like, oh yeah, and what were you reading again? Or hey, let's get back to our math. So there's, you know, it's totally fine if I continue to work like that. I mean, it's working, obviously. I think for me, I'm just like, I don't want to come to my afternoon and not have plugged in and all in and be like, oh my word, I have 100 messages to reply to. I think that's why I just like keep going and going, because I don't want things to pile up. Kind of like laundry. I just keep doing it every day. But sometimes I'm like, you know what? It's okay if I actually give myself a break and don't have to think about laundry for a day or two. Like it'll be fine. So I was just having some awarenesses of, I did count my minutes up of how much I'm actually working per day. So Angie, did you tally up how many
I
hours?
didn't. I'll need to do that. I did not do that.
Because that's what I would also do is like, I just wrote at the top of like when I logged an hour, or, I mean, some of it is like little snippet minutes, which I realized like, there's a lot of those throughout my day, but I was on average about 5 hours Monday through Friday, and very like, you know, some in the morning, you know, some in the afternoon, and some once the kids go to bed. So plugging in at different times. I really didn't plug in a whole bunch on Saturday or Sunday. And so I think even giving myself permission to like unplug, shut her down. Like
Right.
Jessica was encouraging me, like you'll like having more margin of like not always thinking about it or being on will actually, you'll get more ideas. God will download creative things, you know, so I was like, yeah, this is good awarenesses. I think for me, I have a wide bandwidth, so I can have lots of irons in the fire and I just kind of keep going. And I can refuel quickly. And so I have like pockets of rest or downtime, but like actually shutting down for a whole weekend. It takes a lot of trust for me because then come Monday, I feel like I do have a full-time job homeschooling, and that takes the majority of my time and bandwidth during the day. And so, I have a lot of messages to catch up with this week, but I'm also like, but I'm not doing coachings outside of this. So everybody's going to be funneling into the Silver and Six. That is my plan, to just like encourage everybody to go do that. So that is my focus for this week is, just even letting myself not be on social media as much. Just make a post and pop off. Yeah.
Can I ask you, like, how I was actually going to ask you what you just said. So, comment for our Diamond Sprint call. Genevieve has asked us from the very beginning, because we're now in our second, entering our third. She has said you need to be off 2 days in a row, whatever those 2 days are. So most people, it's the weekend. That's super hard to do, 2 days in a row off. So I want to know how you are doing that, because that, I feel like that is inspirational to us. When we see that you are kind of off grid a little bit, because that multitasking is not good for our brains to
Yeah,
live.
I'm sure it's not.
Right. Which is how I've always lived. And so then I'm like, that's not healthy for me. So will you tell us how you're doing that? Because I want to know how to get better of doing that and then re-entering. Because the
Mhm.
re-entry part is hard for me. That's where I get stopped.
Yeah.
Messes me up.
Well, I don't know, because this was like kind of the first weekend I had done that. But I mean, I did get my whole basement organized. Like, it's a lovely feeling. So like even the whole Sabbath, like I'm like, well, what is that? What does that mean? Like, does that just mean I'm doing things that fuel me in other ways? Because not to do plexus means like I'm going to be working in like zones in my house, and like I don't know, I'm not wired to like take naps or like sit on a chair. And I mean, I do like to read, but I think that's where I struggle too, because I often will take my weekends to catch up, because my full-time job is homeschooling, and there's sports stuff going on. And so I do feel like the week, because of what my week looks like, usually, I mean, a lot of times I take Saturdays and Sundays to work in a chunk, just to like knock things out, or just to organize my brain. So like my plan for the week is on paper. Like I'm organizing what I'm going to teach at co-op. I'm organizing like, am I doing a training? Am I teaching? Who am I coaching this week? Like, so a little bit I'm like, I'm not exactly sure what that looks like, because I definitely don't like to crash land into my Monday, and not have, in which I don't know, to completely shut down for 2 days. That's a lot. Especially, I mean, I think for career plexus people, like if they're, I mean, I know everyone has their version of 7 kids and homeschooling, where their time, like the majority of my time in the day, like my focus is like homeschooling and the kids. So I'm like squeezing plexus around those things. And so on my weekends, that's usually, we're doing fun things, and we're hosting. Usually we have hospitality, and we have, church, and we're serving there. So there's like chunks, but I also will pop in and do some stuff on the weekend, so I don't have so much that's like backlogged on come Monday. So I don't really have answers for that, but I will keep you posted as I practice that.
Can I ask you one more question? The book
Yeah.
that you just read by Henry Cloud, I had the privilege, Kirk and I did, of seeing him at a very small event a few years back, and I really liked him. The
Mhm.
book that you just read, would you recommend that, and why?
It was good. Yeah. I thought it was really good, and it really had a lot of things in it. I mean, he's a believer, and a lot of things that we're discussing. Like we're going through the Book of Romans with the kids, by this guy. Actually, he's a really engaging speaker, and just identity and understanding that. And so I feel like he had a lot of good things. Some of it, like there was a lot of information some of it I like skimmed over a little bit, because he's talking about like healthy and unhealthy patterns, sorting out good and bad, uh, failing to develop or have boundaries. I did really appreciate, he's talking about failing to bond, which was interesting. Past injuries, just, it was good from like just a people, like understanding people perspective, and also like for my kids, because there's a big section in the back about what is adulthood, and then when we fail to grow up, and then learning to become mature adults, that I think was really good. And then in the back there's like questions for each chapter, so I am going to go back through because I think it'll help me kind of throw a loop around what I did read. And so I'm always reading things to help understand myself better, help understand people better, and then like how can I understand my kids? Like that's a biggie for me. Is like, ooh, like I want them to transition into adulthood, not like underdeveloped, or I want to release that trust that they're accountable to God. And yeah, just I don't know, reading it with some of those perspectives. But yes, I did think it was good. It's full, like it's small writing. There's just a lot in there. But yeah, I did appreciate it. Okay, so did you guys see that post Jessica did in her Jewel thread about she wants to host a prayer time in April for whoever wants to hop on for Jewels and Diamonds, but just to really just speak life and blessing and just encouraging people to partner up with the Lord. Did you guys see that? No, you're probably not in that thread. Read it really fast. It was good.
Talking about the text thread.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, in that.
She might have put it in her other thread too. I don't know. She just said, I've been really feeling led to share a very simple and short prayer to all the field and its leaders and teams, whoever wants to participate, to pray a simple prayer daily over Plexus in April, starting today. Oh, okay. Collectively declaring, prayerfully believing a blessing for Plexus and everyone connected to it, and trust God's sovereignty with the fruit of what comes from it. And a little mixture of blessing that all associated with Plexus will praise you, O God, and a prayer of blessing in partnership with our work. We all commit to this with me and share and spread the word. And then she has a graphic, which is interesting, because Justin specifically has been praying this over our family. And then I've been talking a lot about this verse in Psalm 90, but she put it on a graphic. May God be gracious to us and bless us, so that your ways may be known on earth, your salvation among all nations. May all the peoples praise you, O God. O Lord our God, let your favor rest upon us. Come work with us, and then our works will endure. You will give us success in all we do. That's a different version, but I like the KJV. Bless the work of our hands, or establish the work of our hands. The work of our hands establish thou it. That's Psalm 90, verse 17. But I've been just really honing in on repeating that with people, and especially even new people. And I think it's very freeing. It's a very freeing place to teach and coach from, is to say, grab your sticky notes, and you're going to prayerfully pray over those blank ones, because God knows who you need to impact this month, who you need to share something so transformative with, and he can give you divine insight on that. And so just encouraging them to focus that specific prayer on their Plexus business or on their Plexus endeavor. And because I think sometimes people can really strive and put a lot of pressure on themselves. And when you partner up with the Lord, how freeing that is to know he's going to bring the people and we're going to be ready to help them. And also marrying that with, high level IPA, plugging in and doing the work, but that hopeful expectancy, like that is my theme, that I'm just encouraging other people to pray in faith and partnership with the Lord, because he can give us, I don't know, I just feel so strongly. And it's going back to how we built our business in the beginning, and that's been woven through, but sometimes I'm like, I forget to like teach my brain space. So I feel like that is my theme this year, is to like when I'm coaching or when I'm on a call or whatever, to like teach how I think or how I work. Not that obviously there's 10 or 15 different ways to find success in Plexus, but to be willing to share more of like how I operate. So if it fits for someone, they can learn that also. Or, you know, what is your secret? Or, you know, how do you continue to help so many people? I'm like, honestly, like, I really think that it's not that, you know, like not that magical. Like, it's praying and taking big action. And I had one of my senior golds come to me this past week, and she's like, Megan, she's like, I just want to cry about you sharing or encouraging us to be praying over our businesses. She's like, I have not been. And she's like, this week I have had so much fruit in my business and the people I'm working with, and like so much is happening. And she goes, I started praying over my business. She's like, it's so simple, but like so profound. So I'm like, yes, keep doing it. So anyways, I'm sharing with you guys so that we can keep repeating this with our people, and especially our new people. I think it's like kind of shockingly freeing to them to hear us share, like, you need to be praying. And when the names come to you, write them down, and then you need to reach out to them. But it's a very organic reach, because the name came to mind, you know? So anyways, that was something that I was going to mention. Oh, back to the sheet really fast. It's the best ever that we're entrepreneurs and we can figure out where our time goes. But a couple things to write down is what do you want to do less of, and what do you and what do you feel like you need to do more of, and then what do you want? I think that is a really just helps with clarity when you know what you want, because it directs where your time goes. So I think those are key questions to be asking our people also.
I'm sorry, my internet just cut me out.
I know, I saw.
What were the questions?
What do you want to do more of? What do you want to do less of? And overall, what do we want? I think those are questions even that we need to be asking our people as they do the exercise. And sometimes it's really simple things like deciding when we do want to work or when we don't want to work. I even was writing down things that feel frustrating or stressful to me. And like, it's kind of ridiculously simple things. But like, I was even looking at my week going, okay, who in my family can I delegate supper? Like, if I can offload that off my brain, I mean, Madeline can take Friday, Justin's going to take Wednesday, but just simple things like that help free up my brain space. So I know we all have different situations and circumstances, but even as you're evaluating where your time is going, I think even looking at, you know, what can I do, delete, or delegate? So John Maxwell says. And even doing this time evaluation thing, you may realize like, my time is going exactly where I want it to go. This is just confirmation. Because when I did this back last April or May, Jessica encouraged me to do it for a couple days. But it was a great awareness. And it was like, I'm spending my time where I want to spend it. This is great. But when I did this exercise this last time, I was like, yeah, maybe it's made me just way more aware of how much I pick up my phone. And when I pick up my phone, I want to be intentional with what I'm doing. But Angie, I think it's also, I do spend time, what you did this morning, I call that content creation or content creative ideas, because sometimes you need to spend some time just like looking at what other people are sharing or posting and to get ideas. And I screenshot things so that I can like take those and duplicate. Because to me,
Right.
that's a way of working smarter, not harder. Because I can take someone else's idea, make it my own with my own picture, and market that way.
Yeah.
But it does take some time.
Right. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. So as you're doing that, also figure out, I think it's a good exercise to figure out how much you make per hour. Like how much are you spending per week and then how much you make per hour.
So thinking about how, you know, how we've always talked about how coming with a mindset, I'm just thinking about our people. Really, this is way better than that, because if our mindset is biblically focused and focusing on prayer and on like that scripture that you gave us, that gives us the fuel behind really the why behind our what and
Mhm.
how. So we're still doing we still have to work hard, but it's coming within a position or posture of faith and hope, and
Mhm.
that joyful expectancy that you've shared really resonates with a lot of people. I've been hearing that from the different people that you've coached. So that's really awesome.
Um, I also think for those that are kind of like not really working or they're kind of like inconsistent or whatever, that even that encouragement, I mean, they can do that and they may not even be working right now, but I think they'll see God work even even when they're not like being consistent or really working. Because if you pray and ask God to send you names or send you people, like he's going to answer. And I think also being willing to coach them, like when they get a name, you can't shelf it and be like, oh, that person doesn't want it. Like you cannot pre-decide. You obey, you follow through. And the connection may not be for Plexus, but if they're praying specifically over their business, and it's always interesting.
So have you found that, Megan? Because I think that's a good point. Because we get names that are, I think when people hear you say that, or us say it when we repeat it to our teams, I think they're thinking it's going to be an easy name. Oh yes, Jane Doe. She needs it, but that's not necessarily the truth. Like it is
Mhm.
scary. Do you find that like a large percentage of the time? Do you feel like it's a kind of a scary thing?
um, I just remember like specifically, well, a couple things are coming up. So when I started, I was like praying, and like every week I'd be like, "Oh, I cannot wait to see who God brings me." And so I would like take little scraps of paper, and like as names would come, and like, oh yeah, Alyssa, she has like IBS stuff and I think she wants to stay home with her kids. Oh, Jody, same thing. So like I would just like write their names down, because I was like doing my thing with the 5 kids at the time. Um, and then when I would sit down and nurse the baby, then I would like reach out, or when the kids went down for naps, then I would like reach out and message people. I don't remember back then writing people off because I think I was just like, oh, like it's so exciting, like this is helping so many people. um Now what I'm finding is like this really gracious, like God answering prayer. And like right now, I think we've been in a season of he's bringing people, has brought people to us. Brooke reached out to me in August, and like for the business, and it was also good awareness for me because like I totally pegged her as a dream teamer, but I was fearful, and I went back in my messages, and like I don't think I ever asked her to do the business. I mean, I did talk to her, I think, when I went and saw her farmhouse, maybe a little bit about what we did. I don't remember now. And then she did strategically win a Joy-On box for me. And because I was thinking, yeah, like I really wanted her to be on the team. And, but I didn't have like a point blank, hey, I think you'd be great at what I do. Would you ever be open to talking about it? And I should have. And so that was like a learning lesson for me. Like I think I thought about her a lot more than I actually contacted her. But she did say that she was seeing a lot like pop up from me, like in stories and posts. And I think it was just that little drip consistently that led her to, and obviously I was praying that God would bring us people specifically for the business, because that's really what I want at this point, is like for people that want, you know, life change, whatever, want to impact people through the opportunity. So anyways, she came in August and then Laura Koblenz came in November. She's a local health coach, holistic health coach person. Um, and I didn't even have her on my radar. Like I was taught, we were taught, she reached out to me about helping my mom with her campaign. And I mean, they helped us when we had mold, let us use their sauna. I think we paid them in chickens, which cracks me up because I don't even remember really, but she remembers. And she was in Plexus like years ago. Like I reached out to her to ask her opinion, like, hey, Laura, is there any reason why I should not do Plexus? Like, what's your thoughts? What's your perspective? Because I saw her posting about it for a little while.
I didn't realize she had been in Plexus. I knew you had asked her because you thought she had knowledge, but
it's because that she used the products before I did, and back in like 2014 or something. And then she had rejoined another time, but didn't ever stick with it. And so I don't know. It's just interesting, full circle, right? And then there's been someone else recently. So I feel like I'm in the season of like God has brought us several people for the business. Oh, Mindy, my friend Mindy that I met on a blog. I've actually never met her in person, but she's in Minnesota. We'll see what happens with her. But she messaged me out of the blue. She's like, hey, Ben just gave me permission to order the products, and not just order the products, but work the business. Because her thing was always like her husband was just, I mean, his whole family is like medically minded and all of that. And so I feel like, yes, sometimes we'll get a name that we want to write off, but I think then it's the practice part of learning to reach out to someone that feels scary. But I think also teaching people like how to reach out to them. It can just be like, hey, I was praying this morning over my business, over Plexus, and you just, for whatever reason, you came up. I don't know if there is a correlation, if you have a specific health goal or health need, or if you would be open to learning more about this business. But I just wanted to obey the prompting and reach out really quick and see if there's some way I can serve you. So I think even like if our people get a name that feels scary to them, if we help them know what to say, so it feels organic and not strange. I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on that? Because I think they most definitely will probably get some names that they're like, oh my.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I feel like that's happened to me, but I've really discounted it because I always say the no for them, which I know we're not supposed to do, but because I get nervous as to the response to me. So, but I need to not do that, because that could be, if I'm praying that, then I need to expect the Lord is going to give me the names. So.
Yeah.
well, and I actually yesterday spent quite a bit of time in the car. Well, I was in the car, so I spent that time praying specifically for my business, because it's something that I always have had, and we've talked about this before, some kind of guilt over. There's so many things I need to be praying about. Your business is the last thing that you need to take time praying about. So I did pray about that some yesterday. Our pastor had a service on prayer yesterday. And one of the big things, a little bit of a side note, was if God answered every single prayer that you've prayed in the last week, how many people would be saved? If God answered your prayers completely in the last month, how many people would be saved? And just went on. I was like, oh my gosh, honestly, like, who was the last person I even prayed for that would come to know Christ? It's not that it's never, but there's so many other things I'm praying about. I'm not specifically thinking about who needs to come to Christ. So that spurred on a lot of prayers yesterday. So, I mean, that's not anything new. I've said that, I've shared that before, that I have kind of a hard time. I know it's not, but just in my mind, it's like, seems like a frivolous prayer when there's so many things in the world that need prayed over. But clearly I'm not praying over salvation. So I'm working on that one too.
Well, it's good awareness. And one thing that I am just like, I don't know what the word is, convicted is a little strong, but just having space in my day that's a little bit more white space, or recognizing those times when I can get names. Because sometimes it's easy to be, and Lisa, you mentioned like kind of always multitasking. Like, I think I've heard some people say like, what a blessing that as moms, like we can actually multitask, because we can get a lot of things done. And I think that homeschooling and a lot of children, I think it kind of lends to that a little bit. And so my thought is like, I get downloads when I'm walking and when I'm in the shower or the bath, or when I'm doing like a kind of a mundane task, like folding laundry or doing dishes, which I don't do a lot of those anymore because my kids do them. But even going back to those spaces, so that and not always like popping an earbud in, but like maybe not listening to anything, but praying and just kind of having white space so that God can bring the names or bring the people that I need to pray over to be saved. So that like having some white space. And I think we often ask, have not because we ask not. But like, you know, the scripture talks about us taking dominion and like having authority over things. And like, I think we don't always walk in the power that we can walk in, or we we don't like even believe for, you know, people to be saved, specific names, or believe that the Lord can bring the fruit for our businesses because we have like because of thoughts we're thinking about it, or we're just so like on the hamster wheel of busy that we don't even take the time to think or pray through, you know. I don't know, I've just been feeling that recently. Okay. Silver and 6, are you guys preaching that to your teams? Like, I really, really, really want everybody that wants growth in their business to do that, because it will relieve us of some of that work this week, and the more people that plug into that, the better. So, and it's just been a reminder to me to repeat, because there's a lot that I think a lot of our people don't tap in at like enough, and so they miss things, and I don't want them to miss out on that training, you know.
The actual videos, well, Jessica's was great, but the 3 videos that were shared in that same post, I don't know if you guys watched those, but really good. And I saved this to my notes. I mean, I'd seen all 3 of them before, but it was a good reminder to me to save them in my notes. And there were several people that I thought of right away that I could send them to just as reminders.
So teach that to your team this morning to tell them, go save these in your notes and then go watch them. And whoever you think of when you watch it, send it to those people. Like you're teaching them your process, because I would say that 99% of your team, my team and Lisa's team, whoever, they're not going to do that. And then that's what I'm realizing, why we need to teach people our processes, because things that feel so like organic or natural or intuitive to us, not necessarily to our people. You know, I've been shocked recently, actually, as I've done more coaching with people, even what they're not noticing, like things that are available training wise or whatever. And I've been asking people that have teams under them, I'm like, who do you have plugged into the Silver and 6? Hoping to raise up their leadership, like, oh, I don't know, who do I have? Because the more people they can get plugged in, I'm like, even people that shared in the past, they might be ready to plug back in. And this is like a really tangible little step-by-step thing that they can plug in, and something that we're not doing. I sometimes think we're kind of like mom to our people. And if it's someone else teaching them, they'll be like, oh, learn from somebody else. Okay. I did have an assignment for this week that I thought we could try. Angie, I noticed that you were adding me to, or bumping those 3 ways up, but let's bump the 3 ways that I'm in with your top people, or the people that are working right now, and see if we can like stoke some fires. So I did this with Kathleen a few years ago, and I felt like it really was effective, but I didn't like duplicate widespread do it with a lot of people. But anyone that is working that you could shout out to me, or I don't know, doing something to like stoke the fire, and it could look different for different people. But I think staying in connection and contact with these newer sharers or even Lisa, like Ashley Elliott, to like hope to
I'm
hopefully
trying. Yeah,
her
I gotta
back
get her
enrolled.
back. Yeah, I gotta get her back. But
Mhm. Well, and she might be someone that we can really encourage, like like don't neglect the praying over your businesses. Like if you're in a really busy season, like God can bring you people, and if you're willing to just keep throwing some stuff in your stories, or pop a post up here and there, um, there's the God factor in all of this, and God time. Like I've seen the Lord just expand the hours in our days. So if she's like lots of irons in the fire, that's perfect. Plexus can fit right in. Okay, so any 3 ways that you guys want to bump with me this week, and then the list of 50 for the business. How are you guys doing on that? Is that part of Genevieve's thing too, or not really?
no.
No.
No. Okay.
Working on it, and I am adding people as they come up. At first I felt like, for me, I don't want to just add people that I don't know anything about, because I don't know if I want them on my team, or I don't know anything about them. So I'm trying to strategically like figure out who those people are
Mm-hmm.
without like not wasting a bunch of time on it, but
Mm-hmm.
just,
How
and
do
then
you-
taking the time to intentionally, I'm not reaching out to them. I'm engaging with them
Mm-hmm.
on social. That's how I'm doing mine.
I think it looks different for like how you know them. Like some of my names that I wrote down, I would say most of them I know. Like I don't know if you guys have ever felt this, but I mean, sometimes people are like, you know, fearful that either they'll run out of people, or they've already talked to all their people. And I'm like, for whatever reason, like I have never felt that way. Like I still feel like I have tons of Facebook friends that there's huge potential there still for Plexus. So like I look at the contacts I have on Facebook or whatever, even through my texts or my emails or on Instagram, and go, there's a whole lot of people still, and who are the little chunks of gold that need this opportunity or the products. So yeah, I have some people I need to message.
So so for the homework, this is the 50, the list of business builders. When do you want us to get that to you?
You can just screenshot it and send it as soon as you get it written out. But more importantly, I mean, even if you get 25 names and you just keep working on the list, but to be working on the people, through connection, connecting with them, or even just directly messaging, depending on how you know them. I mean, I feel like some of these people I've connected with so much. Like I've even looked back, like I've sent them happy birthdays, and I've never chatted Plexus with them. So I do feel like it's time to just have a direct message with them.
I saw a story by Celeste Gwen, because I follow her on this past weekend, and she was talking about in her story that she doesn't ever reach out to anybody. They always reach out to her. And I was like, that's interesting. She follows up. The minute that somebody reaches out to her, she'll keep following up until they tell her they're not interested. But I thought, wow, I don't know how you build your business. Like, that's crazy. I wish it were like that for me. I mean, most people I've reached out to, very few people have reached out to me,
Mm-hmm.
and it's mostly been through happy birthdays or asking if they're open, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I just found that to be really interesting. And I thought, wow, if our people saw that would be super discouraging.
Yeah. I remember Jessica saying initially, like half of the people came to her, and then the other half she reached out to. So she's like, if I wasn't willing to do the scary thing and reach out to people, she goes, I would be only half as successful as I am.
Right.
So Celeste could even be even more successful.
Yeah.
maybe at this point, that's how she does it. And I don't know. That's interesting. Again, more than one way to do this thing.
Right.
But I would say for most people, I think it's like for people who have a niche, I think that works. And that's where I don't have a niche. I was curious, Lisa, back to your question about shutting it down for 2 days. Does Genevieve say, you're not on social media, so like no posts, no planning?
She doesn't. She says whatever, and Angie, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but she hasn't talked about this as much this time, but in the first session that we did, was it September? She was like, you need to take 2 days off in a row. It's statistically, people are more successful, which I totally get that. I have a really hard time doing that. I just personally, I don't think it's good for me. So for me re-entering, because first of all, the Lord said take a Sabbath. He didn't say take 2 days. So I get the whole research part, but that's not really biblical. So for me, like Sunday's not my day off because I work.
Right.
So I try and do 1 day, and I've not been good at that. But when I personally, so I can identify with the people like the Ashleys, because once they get off that wheel of working, it is so hard to jump back in. And it's like, you think you like, this is awesome. Like, but the ideal week, because I feel like I'm on that Ferris wheel of trying to get caught up and I can't get off to get the work done, or you know what I'm saying? So for me, it's 1 day. And she doesn't say whether to do social media or what. She just says take the day off. So basically, I remember one thing. She was like, don't answer any texts. She did say that, Angie. Do you remember that in September? Don't get back to people. Don't respond. Unless somebody says they're ready to sign up. I think she had said that one time, which I would too. I'd be like, okay. So I don't know. I'm go ahead.
Seriously, yeah, what that means exactly. And yeah, I think also because this is so much, it's hard for me. Like, if I know some people will talk about like just like literally turning off your phone, but I'm like, but I don't have a camera to take pictures when we're like doing fun things on the weekend. I mean, we live close to family, so like, I don't know, if I turn it off and then my mom would be like, I've called you 5 times. Can you come for dinner? Like just things like that. But there is a level of, we're so attached to this. And like, and I felt that this past week, I became more aware of that. And I do appreciate giving myself the permission to like not post for a whole day, or even to be like, I could reduce the number of posts and just increase the quality. So have higher quality and less quantity. But then I think there's like, I was a little energized by Jessica's Jewel call last time, because she was like, show up bigger on social media, post a little bit more, like get some more testimonies out there. And I do feel like sometimes this whole only post once a day is not, sometimes I'm like, I think people don't see my stuff. and versus when I am posting more, when there's more content, it's kind of back to when we first started, we were posting more. And I think people are hopping on at different times and see different things. So I see value in both. But I think I think for the question of the day would be, on the day off, what are we not doing? I think I think that's specific to each person and what they personally feel like they need a break from. But I think my life is so busy during the week that I'm fine with using the weekends to be able to brain space, thinking space, because I think my thinking space is so crowded with other things during my week that I struggle, because I still need to give like brain bandwidth to like, okay, just being able to look at things, or even look at reports and like look through them. And I mean, that takes time, but that's not like IPA stuff. And so I think I'll often like, that's where my brain goes on the weekend, because I'm like, okay, I'm not having to think about co-op. I'm not having to think about what I'm teaching or my whole schedule, like what I'm normally doing during the week. I don't know. Is that how you guys think of the weekends also? Like it's for your space to actually like think about Plexus stuff.
Right.
Well, not necessarily for me, because like, well, right now I'm in a season where David's gone a lot throughout the week. So the weekends, I'm trying really hard not to be on my phone. I wouldn't say I take 100% a day off, but like yesterday, other than when I was in the car driving to an appointment, did I do anything really Plexus wise?
Hey, Angie, I think you've improved in this area a lot. So
Yeah.
for example, when I texted you last night about doing,
I didn't respond.
you didn't respond. It was a Plexus question because Angie is like my go-to. I'm
Mhm.
super proud of you for that. Because when I did it, part of me was like, this is Sunday. She's probably, and I'm like, no, she'll be working. So I was super proud of you for that.
Yeah, and I try to leave my phone like in the bedroom or I turn it upside down.
Mhm.
Because we find we go out on dates and we always have our phone or we, whatever. And I'm like,
Yeah. Well, I think sometimes, like for us, like that are just always like kind of always on or always working or always available to not just
Mhm.
us, but just everybody all the time, like giving ourselves permission to turn it over. It's okay. Or even like wait the weekend to respond. Um, but again, it's probably my mindset, but like I don't want to wake up on a Monday morning to 60 unread messages because that's what I have. But also, it's okay. Nobody's gonna die. It's not an emergency. I have the whole week. So it's like kind of a little bit of like twisting my brain a little bit, like it's okay.
It is hard, I think. And for me, like I have accounts that I follow on social media on Instagram that are like food accounts
Mm-hmm.
that I enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
And also like a style account. So that is relaxing to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I think I just need to, I don't know, reel that in so that it's not, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually been going through unfollowing people because for once I was like, when I started unfollowing a couple people, it made me think, oh, that's probably what people do to me sometimes. And I noticed all of a sudden, just like I have like 5 less or whatever. But there are just some things that I'm like, I don't even like looking at this.
Mm-hmm.
And so all the food, like 0 food posts, because I'm only eating certain things. So I'm like, I don't even want to see that stuff. It's a waste of my time. I'm getting it out of there. But other people that have been in my follow, whatever, that I'm like, I don't even know why I'm following them because I don't even like the stuff they put up. I
I
scroll
don't like
past it.
her.
So I'm
Why
like,
am I following her? She's not
no, I'm like, unfollow.
Yeah. I think it's just the awareness of being intentional and
Yeah.
and knowing that we can turn it off for 2 days and it'll be fine. Or if, and I love working my business, so like it doesn't feel pressuring or stressful. I love to talk with people. Like it's joy to me, but I think also there's a level of when we reduce our, just create margin, then we get creative and we have time to think and pray, which is good. So I think that's just the bottom line. And we can pray about maybe what that looks like. I think that's maybe where we should go with that. Okay, so encourage Silver and Six. Any 3 ways you want to bump with me or create, and then our list of 50. Those are the things I wrote down.
This is super cute.
Ooh, I love that. Oh, that's your iPad.
It's the cover.
Love it.
I guess
Wait a minute.
Plexus.
Did that come with it? That came with it?
This came separate.
Very
So the iPad hasn't arrived yet, but I did order it and then this came. So I didn't know we were getting those.
That's
Yay.
nice.
I did see Joanna Slavin post about that. I
That was
have,
super cute.
you guys, how many more do you guys need? Angie, you got yours. Lisa, how many?
I was gonna say a prayer for me. So I need to sign on. I've signed 1. So I'm gonna sign 2 more and I need to get one of them to silver. That's my goal.
Okay.
Um,
What about restarts? Is there anyone in that?
Not a lot. I mean, I've tried. I've already
Okay.
been,
Yeah.
I've been going through that the last couple months. So I have
That's
tons of
nice.
samples. I have tons of people that I'm talking to and have samples too. So I'm
Mhm.
praying that.
Yeah. The right people are going to come at the right time.
Yes.
March has typically been a really high recruitment month for me personally. I think it's that 90-day rule, like January through then the fruition starts to come. So yeah, well, we can pray specifically for Lisa's 5 people.
Yes.
Need what she has. All right, girls, thanks for hopping on. I'll get this recording for Lisa or for Amy.
Okay.
Thank you, Megan.
All right. Have a great day, guys.
Yeah.
Love you
Bye,
guys.
girls.
Bye.